This is okay here. It's a tense round one match in the Crazy House League between two board 2 players. terra87 on my team, the Glass Speed Gamers, against LegionDestroyer on Variants Only's team. So let's just quickly, we just joined the action just a few moves in. It's a d4, d5. The bishop is under attack. It's going to get hit. It is hit. e4, e3. Okay, hitting the knight. LegionDestroyer sacking that. Of course, if you go king g1, you get mated with pawn at f2. This may be still pawn at f2. Okay, so terra87's gone for the material, but the weaker king. And takes here, takes. It looks like his king's okay for now, but the light squares are very weak. Let's see what people are saying in chat. Marlon is saying, let's go Legion, because he's on Legion's team. Slam, 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 slam. Obi's off to buy some beer. And gosh, these guys are playing quickly. It's a 6+6 game of Crazy House. But okay, I just have to rewind because it's gone so quickly. Attacking the bishop. Instead of retreating and losing g2, he goes here first. He gives up the queen to get an attack. Okay, so Legion, it looks like White's got a lot of material here. Black doesn't really have anything to attack with. So it looks quite promising. Oof, yeah, that's all defended. Black doesn't have anything heavy in hand. I think that's the problem. Black doesn't have any heavies in hand. Not yet, anyway. And if you just did this, what would be wrong with it? Knight takes pawn, knight takes. This is tempting, just to run. But you could also take this and see what you could do with this later. Risky, because at e2 might come. Neither player wasting any time, as Marlon says. Okay, so the question is basically, does White have a mate if you did something like this? This is, I don't think so. Only one queen in hand. I mean, if it's ever White's move, he has ideas like queen here check takes bishop, so lots of ideas for taking material. Okay, so Terra having a good long think here. Yeah, terra87 is indeed Russian. So lots of ways, knight here check takes bishop, lots of ways you could win material, but as long as you're not getting mated. So this is sort of tempting, actually. Rook takes knight, probably just king takes, and then you're worried about knight here check, step up, and you say your bishop is guarding the next knight check. So it's a way of making sure you keep your mages. And this here takes here feels too slow. Because you could just I mean, it's a try, but it just feels... Okay, so this is a clear threat. Pawn here, checkmate. Okay. So what do you do against that? Suddenly it's quite a good move. You just have to block it, I guess. Just takes the knight. Oh. So bishop takes queen is forced, and the question is, do you have anything with two knights and a queen in hand? That's not a problem. So 2 knights, a queen in hand. Do you have anything? I don't know. I'm not sure about taking that knight, but knight f6 just gets taken. Don't see anything there. Yeah, I don't know. Feels like Terra's really just from a completely winning position. He's given the major. I think just blocking that file was fine. Don't think there was anything. So if you do this, you really want to have something concrete, and I can't see anything concrete. I mean, you could go bishop takes bishop. The problem is queen here check comes. Queen takes pawn, and this is going to end very badly. And bishop here checkmate. So this bishop's a problem. Because this rook is defended. He's got himself into a right pickle. It's just gone from maybe this and this, but that doesn't work. Just queen here is mate. So bishop here check, bishop takes. If rook takes bishop, queen drops here is checkmate. I just don't see a defense. King takes bishop, queen here, bishop here, and the same pattern repeats. King here, queen takes pawn, king here, pawn here, king here. You're short of a pawn to finish it off, but oh, you could just sack your queen here. Queen takes pawn, knight takes pawn, pawn at mate. Maybe, yeah, this doesn't work. We're going to see that line. Ah, even quicker. I just want to just open up the position at the time when the rook withdrew. So this is quite a sneaky move. But just blocking. Knight at a4, yeah, nice move. Just blocking this file, and white is completely winning. Knight at b3 was my suggestion, but that's only the 5th best move. Knight at a4 is obviously great because you're protecting with a counterattack. So Terra had such a nice position and very unfortunate. King d2 is nice, here is nice, king c1 is nice, and just needed to find the right move here, and he was probably completely winning. So that's rather unfortunate. Game 2, so Legion is white this time, and I'm sorry, just I missed the first few moves. It's another d4, d5, okay. A trade of bishops on d3, so both sides can be quite happy. White's got nice control of this square, but black's doing okay. This feels like a waste of time, but he's obviously afraid of this, but I don't think that's necessary. Trade of, yeah, so the knight goes the other way, so this is just sort of emphasizing this was a complete waste of time. And what does he do after knight here? He puts the bishop back, pinning it. Takes. Okay. So terra trying to fight back is back. Takes, and hitting the bishop. So bishop just trying to take just to keep the tempo. Both playing so fast. Come on, Legion, says Marlon. I think I can safely say Legion knows this Zuccotorti stuff backwards. Wow. So the one thing is never take in this kind of position, because it just advances your opponent's pieces towards your king side. So this isn't. And having said that, he does just take. Okay. I mean, there are exceptions, obviously, but you have to know what you're doing in these sorts of positions where there are exceptions. White notice doesn't really have enough for mate with just like something like queen takes g7 or knight h6 and then queen takes g7. He's trying to encourage the queen to go to g3 so you can pick up a clean queen with check. It's a nice try. Oh, hang on a second. This, you have to be slightly careful with that knight on h6 because that's actually cutting off a square for the king. But bishop h6, actually, because this square is covered, you're okay. If the king had to go here, there could be knight here, check, king here, and you're walking towards your opponent's pawns. So knight h6 is a very provocative move. So someone says we might as well play 3+2 with the pace we keep. Careful with knight takes g4 and mate threat, knight e2 check. Knight takes g4. If you ever got knight takes g4 in, sure, then knight e2 would be a mate threat, because knight e2, king h1, drop the queen on g1, takes, knight takes f2 is checkmate. That's the mate Pepe observes. So while Legion is in the tank, just going to check. Yep, this is featured. Oh, Pepe is also streaming it, so it's a double stream. Double header. I should have. Yeah, I hadn't been planning on streaming this. So I should have checked if Pepe was streaming. Okay, so of course queen h3 because he doesn't want to go to g3. This runs into knight at here and picking up the queen. This runs into the same idea. So it was either queen h3 or queen h5. Queen h5 kind of runs into bishop g6, solidifying the king side, and so this makes a lot of sense. Notice queen takes knight might be a threat at some point. Takes, knight at f6 here, bishop at, king takes, knight at here. You have to be careful in this sort of position. Queen takes knight might be a threat. Queen takes, knight here, here. Bishop here. Can't quite see takes. You can't just mate with knights, but you could go bishop here, king takes, knight takes, queen. This sort of idea. Oh, this is asking for it. This is just asking for it. Queen takes, knight here, check. Even take the bishop. You have to be careful. You can't take the queen. Taking the queen is a murder because knight h3 would mate if you take the queen. You've got to be very careful. Taking the queen is mate. Knight takes bishop is fine. Bishop at g7 first, and then yeah, that's very sneaky. And the threat here is bishop at f6, and knight takes h6 mate if you run down. So bishop at f6 would force you to run up. And now with knights in hand, you can probably get this king. Knight here check, king here, knight here check. Crucially, knight here check, pushing the king further up. And now that knight cuts the king off, and with pawns you mate. Here check. Oh, just a bishop drop here would be mate. So the only thing is, yeah, so there's no, and the reason why knight takes bishop is so nice is you're actually guarding against the smothered mate. There's no queen here, rook takes, knight takes f2, because the knight is guarding, beautifully guarding everything. So in light of that, you don't have a third knight, you don't have any tricks on f2. You have to guard f6. That will do. That will do fine. And maybe it's not the end of the world. Although, having said that, after rook takes pawn, there is knight here. King drops back. Drops back because you want your queen to provide coverage of g7. Oh, he's giving time for f6, but maybe... I was thinking knight h5, yeah. But Legion's quite smart here, because he takes the knight, he recognises that knight is a dangerous piece targeting f3. Okay, king has to go here, but this is looking... No, it doesn't have to go here. White doesn't have a queen in hand. Sorry, I mistook the position. But there's this move. Oh dear. Wow. Yeah, I'm not sure about king f7 because you're walking into this. You have to go here to avoid losing the queen with check. And then my plan would be knight here, check, king here. Maybe there is nothing. Ooh, knight here check is interesting. Because if bishop takes, you have pawn on the back rank, and then promote. Ooh, that was interesting. Did we miss that? Just a second. See, knight here check, you'd have to take with the rook, but then knight takes, bishop takes, you get the... not sure if it quite works. Okay, so going for a safe option, winning a rook, putting a rook on the back rank, and back rank mate. Okay, so Legion is proving himself the player of 2020 so far, and he looks close to even getting a place in the candidates in the Crazy House World Championship, with a match against, I think, Art of Deception coming up. So really nice games from Legion taking this. I'm thinking, where was Black's chance here? I felt like White was on the ropes a little bit here. I didn't like knight at h6 very much. Oh, I completely missed knight at f6 here, and then simply queen takes g7, king takes, and you've still got to be careful. You can't take this queen. You get mated with this this idea. Very important idea in Crazy House. The two knights and the diagonal mate. But there's a quicker way of doing it, which is even sneakier, which is this. Bishop at f3, and suppose you run up, then knight here is checkmate. And if you run down, then knight here is checkmate. But the more classic way of doing it is you go here, check, king here, you draw the king up to g2 with the bishop rather than the full queen, and then you backtrack here. You're cutting off the king from f3. If the king goes back, queen g2 is mate, so you go here, queen here, check, king takes h4, and knight f5. You've driven him up the board, and that's mate. Did he miss something? It just feels there was something better. Yeah, knight h6 is always a liability, it's the problem. So in this position here, f6 it suggests. I would say bishop at g6 is just really solid. Bishop at g6. But of course, there are nasty ideas. Bishop h6, knight at f6. Yeah, so probably I'd say going back here. Apparently taking here was a good idea. Taking here was a good idea. Hard to say. I think at this point, king takes, knight takes. Oh, so there was still a resource here for black, amazingly. Okay. And the resource for black here is queen at h3. And the idea is that that queen on h3 is actually guarding h6. So I wonder if anyone's seen that. 25, queen at h3. So quite a confusing move, but let's just see how that works. So the point is, if bishop at f6, obviously if you go to g6, incidentally, you're getting mated because of f5. If you take on f5, knight at f4 is mate. And if you take with the king, you're still running into knight e3. If you run back here, knight at f4 is still mate. So if you take with the queen, there's a discovery with the rook, and you have a queen in hand. So you probably keep running with the king, but then there's bishop at g3, simply. And the bishop cuts the king off, this cuts the king off, so you just have to take it, and takes this checkmate. So actually the best defense here was actually taking the knight, but then you can't survive this sort of position. So the full line is f2. I don't understand, just rook takes f2, knight at f3. Oh, I see, you don't you don't take back. Okay, that's just completely wrong. You actually go bishop at g4, king takes g4, bishop at h3, and if king here, then knight at h5 is checkmate. If king here, knight here is, if king h5, g4, king here, knight h4 is checkmate. And if queen takes bishop, then you're getting the queen in hand. Anyway, this has got to be a really weird position where taking the queen is actually not the best move, and putting a piece that checks that can be taken back is actually the best move. But anyway, queen at h3. Okay, so the immediate mate attack doesn't work because the queen defends. So that's the idea. And why can't that queen just be taken? So if it can't be taken because of a mating attack, in fact, knight at e2. So this is a classic sort of position where the knight covers the dark squares, and then just using, you just need to cover the light squares. If he covers with a bishop, you just get him on the light squares. So bishop takes, king takes, and bishop is mate. The problem is he doesn't have a pawn blocker. Otherwise, he could just block with the takes, pawn check, and run back. And if he blocks with a knight, well, that's just not much better. Takes, takes. We're lacking a pawn for knight at h4, pawn here, checkmate. But we can just go knight takes this pawn. And now if he steps back, pawn here, check, and this knight comes in with checkmate. And if he steps forward, then we still got a knight in hand. So we can go knight here, king here, and this pawn for checkmate. So the queen is actually so the queen can't be taken on this square. So it's a very interesting defensive resource. Queen can't be taken, and it's threatening some nasty things with queen takes g2. Probably black would go bishop takes f6, king g8, and have to defend g2. So something like knight at e3, defending both the knight and defending g2. Bishop f3, and the idea of this is if you take here, this is checkmate. So
who are you?
That's the idea. Oh, this is okay here. Okay, well, I'm just finishing up the stream, covering a match between terra87 and LegionDestroyer. Okay, well, good games and congratulations to LegionDestroyer.